The Salmon Under My Sweater is the 10th episode of the second season of 2.5 Men. This is directed by Pamela Fryman, and there will be spoilers as I discuss what happens in this episode. And I really thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I thought it was very entertaining and one of the ones that I remembered most. Something that I think I've mentioned before is that I was binge watching 2.5 Men for about a year in around about 2010, and then I just kind of fell out of it. I think by the time it finished, I watched it until the last episode aired, and then I kind of stopped watching it. But the Oshikuru song must come into my head at least once a month, maybe once every 2 months, and it's done that for the past almost 1.5 decades. That's how powerful that song is. So I had quite a strong memory of this episode anyway. And that doesn't surprise me because it's pretty great. So as I said, there will be spoilers from now. I don't have too many extensive thoughts. Not a lot happens, but at the same time, everything's really delightful. So the opening scene actually establishes the two main parts of the narrative. Jake goes into the front room and Charlie is on the couch watching television. And it turns out he's actually waiting for inspiration because he has to write a song. And Jake is procrastinating from reading Lord of the Flies, which he has to read for school. And throughout this, he has various conversations with different people, including Berta, who says it's like Survivors, but with kids, which Jake runs with. And whether or not he's going to read the book by the end of it is not clear. And I will come back to that in a little bit towards the end. We also have a rather fun scene, I think. A couple of fun scenes, actually, with Alan and Rose, because we don't get to see Alan and Rose together on their own that often. And because Jake is doing his homework, Alan agrees to go to the movies with Rose. And she takes the salmon with her, which is where the title of this episode comes from. And they have a really good time, and Alan really likes spending time with her and learning about her. And obviously we, the viewer, also get to learn more about her. And she's very well educated, and Alan has a really good time. So the following day, he's going shopping with her, and they stop off for something to drink. And they end up kissing, which I actually didn't remember about this episode. I'd completely forgotten about that. And it took me by surprise because I wasn't expecting it, which I guess is kind of the point. And then Rose suggests they get a room or go back to her place. And very quickly, Alan changes his mind about moving forward with the relationship. I think partly because he does realise it just wouldn't be a good idea to basically start a relationship with somebody who's so obsessed with his brother, but also the ferrets. She has 5 ferrets called Charlie, 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 and Charlie. And honestly, I can understand why Alan decided to suggest they just remain friends. But very comical, very well done. But a nice opportunity as well to spend time with Rose away from Charlie and to learn a little bit more about her. Then we have Charlie and the Oshikuru song. And we hear this song, I think, 4 times in the episode, maybe 5. And it is just, as I said, it does come into my head probably once every 1 to 2 months, every time for the last 10, 12 years, maybe closer to 14 years. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And Jake doesn't. Jake thinks it sucks. And his opinion matters because it's actually the Oshikuru comics that are being turned into a film. And Jake loves the Oshikuru comics. He gives Charlie an education on what they're actually about because Charlie, much like Jake with Lord of the Flies, didn't read the comics properly. And he wakes Jake up in the middle of the night to get his opinion on the song, which isn't actually that different. And then we have this beautiful montage where we have, I write the songs, the music over the top of the clips, and we see Jake and Charlie working together, sometimes in harmony, sometimes they're very clearly frustrated at one another as they try and come up with a good song that will please everybody. And I thought it was beautiful. It was really nice to see, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And Charlie repays Jake by taking him to the bookstore and buying him the Cliff Notes for Lord of the Flies. And then he doesn't bother to read them because they were, as I think he said, 50 pages long. He couldn't be bothered with it. So he ended up getting not a great grade on his book report. And then we get the lovely moment right at the end where Charlie, Alan and Jake are all sitting on the sofa. It's a really lovely scene. And Charlie turns the sound on the television. because the Oshikuru theme has come on. I'm not entirely sure how much time has passed between Jake writing his book report and Charlie submitting the song and then them releasing it that quickly, but nevertheless, it's now on television and it's the original song. And I absolutely love it. It's very delightful, really fun episode, really great moments with Jake and Charlie, and then Alan and Rose, and it's definitely one that, well, as I said, I remember it very well because it's a brilliant song and a really fun episode. I don't know if I'd class it as one of my personal all-time favourite episodes, but I'd say it's definitely one of the most memorable. The Salmon Under My Sweater, without question, pretty great episode of 2.5 Men.